Most people don't fail their Amazon interviews because they're not smart enough. They fail because of a few simple mistakes that cost them their offer. Hi, I'm Vishnupriya, a senior program manager at Amazon. And in this video, I'm not going to share generic questions that you can easily Google or complicated formulas that you really do not need. Instead, I will share 5 essential tips that will help you stand out. And trust me, even if you have exceptional experience, if you miss this, you can really blow your interview. And before we dig in, I wanted to clarify that I do not represent Amazon in any way, and all thoughts here are my personal thoughts. My first tip, provide context. One of the biggest mistakes that I see candidates make is that they do not give enough context and they directly jump into the problem that they solved. But context is really important and really helps the interviewer evaluate the scale of your problem. So for example, what does context here exactly mean? It's things like, what company were you working with? What year is this? What was your role in the team? How big is the team? And why was this problem important? So this is a very unrelated, out of the blue example. An example without context would look like, well, when I was at PwC, my manager abruptly left and then our team had no clear direction. Now, this does not give me enough context into how big the problem was and what was the scale of the problem, which year it happened, how are you impacted by it. Instead, let me read out what a strong answer would exactly look like. In 2023, I was a senior risk analyst with PwC's fraud investigation department. I was leading a team of 10, investigating client emails and telephonic records. Midway, our manager abruptly left. Since this was $1 million client, stakes were incredibly high and leadership clarity was critical. Now, when I, as an interviewer, hear this, I now fully understand why this problem was huge. Second, use data. Another huge gap that I see in the interviews is that the interviewee do not use numbers. Now, Amazon loves numbers and the interviewer should be able to quantify your impact. Now I know sometimes it's really hard to put a number onto things, but trust me, there's always a way in which you can show impact in terms of numbers. For example, how big of a team did you influence, or how did you reduce cost of a certain thing, by what percentage? For example, if you improved a process, then how did the process improve from 10 days to 2 days, which is in itself numbers. So you need to share numbers in your experience to quantify the impact. At the end of the day, a business is a balance sheet, and the interviewer wants to understand whether you in any way possible impacted the balance sheet, even if it was just a very small impact. Tip number 3, and this is something that I see so many people doing again and again. When I am practicing with a lot of prospective candidates, this is something that I notice all the time, which is we versus I. A lot of candidates use we because they want to sound humble or they want to show teamwork. But guess what? The interviewer does not want to know what your team delivered. The interviewer wants to know what your contribution was in the team. So yes, of course, acknowledge collaboration, but recognize your role. Talk about what you did in order to achieve that number. What specific actions did you take? What decisions did you make? How did you influence others? That's what your interviewer wants to know. Amazon interviews are designed to see whether you as a candidate align with the Amazon's leadership principles. So don't hide behind the word we. Fourth is practice. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, this is quite obvious, but hear me out. A lot of candidates practice the wrong way. They will write their stories, read them again and again, but that's not the kind of practice that you need. You need the practice of delivery. For example, you should speak your answers loud and time yourself. You should be practicing with your friends and family and take their feedback. One way in which I practiced my interviews was to record myself. So whenever I recorded myself, I would go through the entire video, look at my facial expressions, look at the way that I was delivering my answer, and have feedback for myself. Now the bonus point is, once you've practiced the interview so many times, you feel very comfortable on the final day of the interview. And my last favorite bonus tip that you would not find enough even on Google, which is using the STAR+L method. You can find so many videos of the STAR format, but adding an L is the icing on the cake. Now, what does L stand for? L stands for learning, and it really helps you to tie the entire story within just 20 seconds once you finished your answer. Now, for those of you who do not know STAR, it is situation, task, action, result, and this is how your entire story or your answer should flow. But I would recommend adding an L, which is learning, after R, which is situation, task, action, result, and learning, to really give a holistic picture of your experience. Now, hear me out. This L or learning does not have to be a monologue. It would just be about 20 seconds tying the entire story together and sometimes tying it back to the leadership principle. This basically shows the interviewer that you can evaluate your actions effectively and you learn from your mistakes. It shows that you are capable of growing from experiences. And Amazon is not looking for perfect people. They want to work with people who learn from their experiences and make sure they do not repeat the mistakes. That's it. These are my 5 big tips for you to crack the Amazon interview. And honestly speaking, this is valid for any behavioral interview that you may have for any other company worldwide. If you're preparing for Amazon or FANG interviews, I will be sharing more information on leadership principles, behavioral questions, and my own career journey in London. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I also have a TopMate page linked in the description below if you're interested in chatting with me one-on-one. And if you would like me to put together a cheat sheet for Amazon interviews, let me know in the comments below and I will make it happen. Until next time, bye-bye.